Hello everyone. Today I am working on this beautiful commission piece for my friends Hannah and Keegan, and I thought I would take you along with me to listen to some of the sounds and watch the process of the grid method, and I thought that I would also vaguely explain what the grid method is, how I personally use it, and what it can do to improve your graphite portraiture. When working with the grid method, I personally like to use a ratio of 1:1. So what that means is that my reference over here has an overlaid grid of 1 inch by 1 inch. My paper is 9 inches by 12 inches. So I have overlaid a grid of 9 by 12. This allows me to find, let's say, the third box here and third box here and directly reference what I'm working on. If someone tells you the grid method is cheating, they have clearly never used the grid method. It's not as easy as it looks. If you lose your proportions or you lose the box you're working on, it can mess up the entire drawing. It's not perfect, but it's the method I like to use just so that I can ensure accuracy, size, things like that. My neighbor just started snow blowing, so I apologize if you hear any of the noises outside. I've always loved graphite portraiture. I find it very relaxing, and it allows me to slow down and really focus on the mundane parts of life. There's a lot of little details you never notice about things until you start meticulously looking at them, especially when it comes to drawing them. And then you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that, that plant looked like that, or I didn't know that I didn't know that her lips curved out like that, or I didn't, it's these little things that you start to appreciate about the people in your life. This flower crown is not one of the most detailed things that I've drawn, but it's definitely given me some trouble. I'm quite lost. I'm looking at this reference and I'm like, wow, I have no idea where one flower starts and another one ends. The best thing about doing the grid method though is that it really only helps you when it comes to your line work, and it really should only help you with your line work, otherwise you're not learning. But that's what makes it so great, is that once I get into shading, that's when these shapes and objects really start to come to life, and that's when I can differentiate, you know, the top flower here from her hair underneath, and I can kind of connect these spaces in between. I'm not gonna lie, when I started this drawing, I was really dreading this flower crown. He also has a boutonniere on to match, and it's so small that I think it will be quite tough. But I don't know if you notice, a good little tip is to start with your outlying shape and then kind of move your way into the details. So on this flower here, I started with that outlier and then moved my way into adding those leaves. And then this down here is going to be the back of her hair that comes through. It's the back of her veil. So her elbow here, I know it looks really weird. This fabric is transparent, but there is a cast shadow under here that will cover up her elbow. So bear with me. I know it looks a little funky, but we're just gonna vaguely erase it for now because you won't even really see it. Also, do you like my eraser? I've had this since freshman year of high school. I got it off of a Japanese website that I can't even remember now. It says 100% fresh orange. I like fresh fruits, but it's a twist eraser. I have had this thing, I can't even tell you how long. It comes with refills, and I have multiples of them, multiple different cats and fruits. The OGs will remember this. My high school friends will remember this eraser. To do my sketching here and my line work, I'm using the Prismacolor 2H graphite pencil. I don't like to do my shading in the Prismacolor graphites. I think that they don't go dark enough. So I do all of my shading with the Faber-Castell Gold Faber pencils. She has some tattoos through here that with this lace tool is going to be really tough. And there are also some floral decals on this lace tool as well, overlaying her tattoos. So that's where the shading comes in, and the shading is really important in making sure that I differentiate what is a tattoo and what is an overlaid piece of lace. y'all seeing this? This is going to be tough. But I've never backed down from a fight. I think I'd like to move on to his eye. Now, if you're an art person or creative person, or you like to draw, you know that eyes and hands are two of the hardest things to draw. I like to leave these for last, so that is what we're doing now. There's a lot of detail work missing down here, but it's mostly shading. I'm going to rotate this in a way that you can see. So obviously I only have to do one eye for each of them, thank goodness, or this angle. But I will say that his eye is looking down and her eye is looking across. And I have no reference point for where her eye should be placed. It's about there, but I can't be sure. This is why the grid method is not 100% foolproof. Let's start working on this eye. So, in my reference, and let me move it so you can see it a little better actually. In my reference here, his eye's quite low. We can see that it's towards the bottom, and that just the end crevice of his eye goes through that line. So we're going to take a look at halfway eyebrow down. There it is. Got it. Move my reference back out of the way. Scooch this back over. Keep hitting this little shelf up here. My desk is not very long. I apologize for this shadow, by the way. I am left-handed, and that is where my lamp sits. I know it's a curse, but my fiance is right-handed, and it works great for him. So his eye is done. I don't know that I love it, but nothing a little shading can't fix. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't fix things in shading. That's the number one art thing I always hear, is that you better make sure that your line works good, because shading can't fix anything. I have fixed so many proportional problems when it comes to shading. Shading is what gives your piece dimension, and you can fix things when it comes to making it 3D. Her eye will be the death of me. She has very beautiful, perfect eyes. They're very unique. I know my Hannah's eyes. And I know them very well, so if I don't get them right, it will bother me. Just like to say her hair is halfway, and I definitely don't have it halfway. Bring her hair out some more. So I can see from my reference that her eyelash is in line with her eyebrow, which almost touches her nose. and that her eyelash is just below halfway. So it should fall about here is where we should find the top of her eyelash. So now that is the top curve of her eyelash. So her eyelash comes in, her eyelid comes down. So now that we know that that is her eyelash, her eye has to end there. Perfect. Well, not totally perfect, but that is what we move the hairline for. Just gonna pick up my piece, make sure that looks good. Perfect. So now that I've done the eyes, it's time to move on to the other least favorite part, which is the hand. So his other arm is coming through here to adjust her necklace. It's a very tricky perspective, even with the grid method. Fingers are so difficult to draw. When I completed my recent graphite portrait, people were like, "Oh, you're so good at hands." I'm not good at hands, I'm really good at erasing and doing it over and over and over. But you know what? Practice makes perfect. Why does he have 3 fingers? Are y'all seeing this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Where did his pinky go? I'm sure it's just back here, but it's probably hidden. Actually, what? I'm so confused. This is the joy of doing commission work. I know he's got enough fingers. This is one of those moments where you have to decide, do I just go ahead and give him another finger so that it doesn't look weird? Maybe. I might. Y'all, I might just give him another finger. Because where the heck does finger go? Why do fingernails make hands look so weird? Like, what if I just left his fingernail off? That looks so strange. Is that just me? Also, if anyone is wondering and they don't know what this is a drawing glove or an assistant glove. It helps so that you don't smear the graphite while you're working. I have one for my digital work as well. This one has little bunnies all over it. But it helps so that when I am doing digital work, my hand doesn't move the screen, and when I'm doing traditional work, I don't smear the graphite. Y'all, I might just give him another finger. Is that okay? Is anyone gonna be mad at me if I give him another finger? Like, just like that. Like, no one has to know. Right? Right. Good job, team. So his fingers come down halfway. Yeah, that finger did not come down enough. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't place it. I've always loved the soft-spoken ASMR videos. When I work, I like to body double to them so that I get more done. Because sometimes music is just too much, you know? You're like, alright, it's a lot of noise right now. Just trying to focus. So then I thought, hey, what if I made one? So that's what I'm doing right now. Does anyone like drawing hands? I just feel frustrated every time I do. But we persevere. Right now I'm working on the watch on his wrist. Doing circles are interesting, especially in the grid method, because your brain wants to just draw a circle. But with the perspective, it's an oval. And I have to follow the proportions. But every part of me just wants to go, yeah, and be done with it. It's also much smaller than I thought it was. See, that is why we use the grid method. Like what? Would you have drawn an egg for the watch? Me either. Okay, not bad. Now there's just two little ribbons that come out down here. Just like that. Just doing the seams on his shirt now. He's got his cuff, of course, and then he has a seam that runs from here, down through here, down through here, and just kind of dissipates at the elbow. And this is going to be black, so we can color it now. So back to his right arm over here, we kind of abandoned that when we moved down here. I know some people who use the grid method like to work on one square at a time. That's just not me. I like to bounce around. So now we're back to that right arm. Just mapping out the facial hair once again. I vaguely drew where it should go. I'm just adding a few hairs to start. This is not at all the finished product. I just need to know where the shadows are going to fall so that when I start shading, I'm not totally lost. I think this is where I'm going to stop for today. I have a nice idea of my line work and where my values should go. The next few steps, as you can see from my reference, are going to be laying out this lace and the cast shadows under her arm here. A lot of this is actually value work, as you can see in this reference here. You can't line work in the skin textures. The hair is mostly shading. So I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for joining me for this soft-spoken draw with me today. If you're interested in the process of this drawing, I will soon be posting another video where I go through and, as they call it, render or shade this drawing and add value to it, and we will get closer and closer to finishing it. So thank you so much, have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you guys next time.